Hello everyone, and welcome back to another manga review. You already know, it's your boy, The Rat, and this is The Rat's Nest. Today, we have a volume that it's been a long time coming. We have Berserk Volume 7. And I say, well, that's an odd volume to start on, Brandon. And it is. That is because I purely read Berserk. I've never read the series before. I only read the series through the deluxe editions published by Dark Horse. They're like $50 a pop if you buy them from the store. And so it's been a second. It's been about a year since I read volume 2 of that, and each volume of that contains 3 volumes. So I read the first 6 volumes. This is the 7th, obviously, and this is the first volume of volume 3 of the deluxe edition. And so if I refer to the other 2 as volume 1 or volume 2, I can't remember the specific numbers. I'll try to refer to this one as volume 7 as much as I can remember. I have only read volume 7 so far. I stopped after it to record this. And so let's just get right into it. So it's been a while. It's been about a year, so forgive me if I forget some stuff that has happened. Yeah, so we come back, and my first notes here, I have my little page, says Griffith is a twink, actually. Yeah, so we would start off with a bit of Casca telling Guts about stuff. I can't remember exactly where the last volume ended off and what exactly was said. And we start off with Guts, or at least Casca's perception. Griffith. We start off with at least Casca's perception of him. My next note is Griffith really is. That's whenever we find out that he was selling himself to that nobleman, at least for the night, for the money, for the Warhawks, and that is. It goes to show more of Griffith's character, and this entire kind of first half of the volume does. And so again, another thing. So like I've never read Berserk before. This is my first time reading these. I've almost no clue what happens going forward. I am not in the Berserk community. I know absolutely nothing about the series. I'm just some dude buying the deluxe editions and reading them, right? And so I think that Griffith is super interesting. And is like what's going on here? And he said, so he wants to win. He said to achieve his dream, and he knows the reality. I think it's so interesting. I can't remember if they said Griffith's dream last volume. I'm sorry if they did. I really can't remember it. So it's kind of the mystery, at least for me. I don't know if I was paying attention a year ago. If I remembered it, it might not be a mystery. But what exactly is Griffith's goal here? He seems genuine with a lot of stuff that he does. I know he becomes one of the member of, what is it, the Black Hand or something? I know he becomes a member of them later on. It's like right now, what is his goal? Is his goal to become that? Like, is that his goal and he's just hiding it really well? Or is he as genuine as he seems now? And I think that's one of the most interesting thing, and just kind of learning piece by piece, kind of building on his character and that becoming more complex. It was a really good way to kind of start the volume off. Casca wants to be with Griffith. She wants to be his sword, and she wants to go with him. I think that this is going to be a very interesting plot point going forward. To see how that changes with what little I know. I mean, you know some stuff about Berserk even without reading Berserk. I think that Griffith is a super interesting character, and I'm so looking forward to how he develops, and I've really enjoyed the development that we've seen here. I can see that he knows the reality of his goal and what he wants. He knows that people are going to die for it. People whose goals might not align with him. I liked what he was saying about the one soldier. Like, was he happy when he died, or did he die for my dream? Was he in despair? And I think that Griffith is so interesting, and I'm so looking forward to seeing more of his development and just add on and to kind of see, like, okay, where is this character going? And then there's what I wrote. This was a thought I had during this. Does Casca think Griffith loves Guts? There's that one section where she was like talking to him, and she was like, I'm jealous. So it's like, does she imply a romantic relationship that she thinks is there? That's super interesting to me. It's just kind of seeing okay, like how is this going to develop? Like, and that's just Guts and Griffith's relationship, anyways. Obviously, I assume it never becomes romantic. Um, it's so interesting to see Casca's perception on it, and then I'm very much looking forward to seeing how Griffith develops. And then we get yeah, based Guts. I said question mark. Yeah, Guts basically being like, so Casca is on her period, and maybe she's also sick. I can't remember. It's been a second. And Guts basically being like, yeah, no, women suck. You don't suck though. And get her back on the theme, and just kind of seeing Guts' character kind of throughout this and throughout the beginning of the little battle he has in the woods against the 100 mercs. And just seeing that, it's cool. I like I said, I can't remember too much of the specifics of the past volumes, but it's always cool to get more characterization of your main character, especially one like Guts, who definitely seems to be kind of more like, I'm brooding type. To see him be able to, to switch from how he was when he was talking to Casca and kind of like the strong, silent type, to the funny guy, and to see that softer side of him, it's a cool dichotomy there. And once again, it adds to his character. Like, okay, he isn't as simple as he likes to portray himself as. He knows that he's ultimately simple on the surface, but we as the reader know that he's more complex of a character. And I really enjoyed seeing him kind of cut up and be the funny guy. Not just with Casca, but with the one guy, I can't remember his name, who led the mercs. And we have the fight. I love that entire fight with that the great art. Yeah, I specifically mentioned that. Guts' character and strength. Yeah, and then Casca is sick. Yeah, no, I mean, Guts is just, I'm loving Guts so far as a protagonist. I think he's great. Not just how strong he is, but also just his character. And like I said, that kind of dichotomy of switching back and forth to him being, more complex than he likes to present himself as. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how his character goes, and I think it's done so well in scenes like this. I mean, even just with the fighting. I mean, the art's phenomenal. The fighting is phenomenal. I mean, what else can you say about the fight? I mean, dude, he's going berserk, dude. Oh my gosh, dude, Nuts goes berserk. Good Casca moment. Glad she got all of that. We'll never, yeah. There was a good Casca moment of her running away. I really enjoyed all that because, again, you get to see Guts' character and another side of him, kind of, where he's softer towards her, and just all of that. It was really good characterization of him, I feel, and to him telling her to run away. And you might say, well, Casca could have shown. No, she was sick. She was on her period, sick. Whatever you want. I think it was both. And to see her kind of, put faith in Guts, and then to see her, even though she can barely fight, to hold her own against those guys for a little bit, and then in the ambush, until eventually she gets put into a position where she's almost raped. And I'm glad she came out of that. Glad that's never going to happen again. And she came out stronger for it. And I really like how Guts' words impact her. Like, are you weak enough that this is where your road ends, right? And that's the same thing. I had another series in mind, flash in mind there. I can't remember what it was. It's just, it's a good message, and it inspires her to fight back, and to, gives her more will to fight back. Really appreciated that obviously the Hawks show up, and then they go and they find Guts, and you get a really cool panel of him under the tree. I thought that was cool. I mean, again, just the artwork's phenomenal. I mean, what can you say about Berserk's artwork that hasn't already been said? But I am absolutely loving it. And then Guts went beast mode on these fools. Cool panel by Tree. Yeah, Guts going beast mode. I mean, what can you say? I really enjoyed how the mercenaries were like, we don't want to fight this guy, and they was like, well, I'll give you money. And then they're like, okay, yeah, no, and that's mercs for you. And then Griffith, good. What did I say here? Oh yeah, where the guy pulls Casca aside after they get back, and tells him about how Griffith went against the orders of everyone to send out a search party to find them, and said that these two are vital to the Hawks. And that's, again, it just adds more complexity to Griffith's character, because is he actually good at this point? That's the thing. And even knowing what I know about Berserk, which isn't very much, I mean, I know that Griffith becomes a member of the Black Hand. That's established back in, I don't know, volume one, but volume 1 of the deluxe edition. That's that's an early thing that is established, is that this is Griffith. He's evil. And so it's like, where does that Griffith begin, and where does this Griffith end? Right? Are we already seeing that Griffith? That's what I think is so interesting about it, because he definitely presents himself like a good person. Is he a good person at this point? I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see. But he definitely seems like it, and that's the confusing part. And that's part of what has so much intrigue to his character, and part of what I like so much about it. And then so you have the elf dust that the guy gives Casca to help Guts. And this is something that I love in the series that I really don't see done too often, and that is like high fantasy, right? Fantasy, cool, and I know Berserk is more grimdark, but high fantasy where it's like, elves, like not many people believe in them anymore. Lord of the Rings, high fantasy. I will say Black Clover is a bit of high fantasy. Now I have a thought or two on Black Clover, and I think as of the time of recording, it's not technically out yet. But once it is, I will definitely have a link to my Black Clover book club that I did on my other channel, Goobers and Screens, with my friend Kyle, to hear my thoughts on Black Clover. If nothing else, their original world building, where it's like all of that, is really cool. And so, going through that, I really enjoy that high fantasy, and that definitely kind of seems to be what Berserk is going for. Right now, it's more medieval. I know it's going to get more grim dark later on. Once we get out of the kind of war that's going on now and stuff, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing how it develops. And then on the hill, Casca came up, and I was like, Casca in thigh highs, awooga, wooga, Casca, man. I absolutely loved her this volume, just with everything. I think she's super cute. I think she's a super well done character. I definitely enjoy with Miura's artwork and just kind of his story in general, how he can play, these more grimdark like series in general, but still have the comedic moments and still have the panels that's like, kind of funny. And Casca is the center of a lot of that, and I know that's not going to be true for the entirety of her character. But I do enjoy that a lot, how it can kind of switch back and forth, and it never feels too jarring. I really appreciate it. I think it's a great story so far, especially with everything that he's been doing. Next, we get the conversation between Guts and Casca, where Guts essentially tells her, he's like, as far for as long as I know, and he's like, I've just fought. He's like, I've just had a sword. He's like, I've just fought. I've just killed. He's like, I don't have a goal. He's like, me killing 100 men. He's like, that was nothing. He's like, that was nothing compared to you and Griffith and people who actually have goals. I really enjoyed his fire analogy, where he was like, all these lights are like each person's individual dreams, and like, but if you blew on them, they'd be extinguished, and that's why they gathered around the bonfire that is Griffith. I really enjoyed that visual, and then Guts being like, my light isn't here. He doesn't have a goal so far, and I think that's so interesting, and just it's so cool and so interesting. I'm so looking forward to seeing how that develops, and what does Guts' goal become. Because the Guts that I met in Volume 1, it definitely feels like the man with a goal, if nothing else, to kill Griffith. Right? So, when does it become that? When does Guts get his goal and become more than just swinging his sword around? I really enjoyed that, and the potential of him moving on from the Hawks. I think that's very interesting. Casca was like, you're not planning on moving on, was it? And he didn't give a straight answer, and obviously when later on, he is planning on moving on. And that's so, because, what is he planning on doing after? What if his relationship with Griffith? What if his relationship with Casca, with the Hawks themselves? It's so interesting how it's presented. I'm so looking forward. It's really good setup for stuff that comes later. And I'm really looking forward to all of that. Then we get Griffith in the War Council. I thought it was very interesting to see all these commanders, and then to see Griffith. It just kind of pulls it in more to, as realistic as you can get. But it definitely pulls more realism into it to see him in this war council with other people, and I really enjoyed it. How they were just talking and arguing. It's really well written, and they were talking about this place. Oh man, I can't remember the name. But this city that they're currently sieging and trying to take over the fort. I think it's great how they were talking about how they lost whoever and the guy being like, "Could you do it, Griffith?" And he's like, "Yeah, the king ordered me to." It's like, "Oh no, I don't feel bad." He's like, "Huh?" And it again, just more characterization to Griffith and kind of seeing other people, seeing Griffith in the world. It's super cool. I think it was written super well to see like all these generals, have their conflicting feelings on Griffith. And sure, he's had success, but he doesn't know what he's getting into here. And, we know he's one of the main characters of Deuteragonist currently, kind of, in a way. And it's very cool to see him kind of just hanging around with those guys, and to show the king's faith and trust in him. I think that was really cool to show that the king is willing to try this, and the other guy whose name I can't remember is willing to try it. And of course, later on, talking to the guy being like, we're standing next to the hero of the century, and kind of knowing what happens with Griffith becoming evil and a member of the Black Hand. Now, getting back to it, kind of lost my train of thought there. We'll just move on to the battle itself and kind of getting introduced to the enemy general. And then finding out that the enemy higher up guy that's in charge of the fort is the same dude that Griffith sold himself to that we learned of earlier in the volume. And just the fight's really good. Again, we get to see some more of Griffith leading and Guts kind of being the follower there. This has been really a Griffith centered episode. Really a Griffith centered episode, and how he lines them up against the river. They can't run away. And so it's interesting, what part of the strategy is that? Is that genuinely him with his men being okay, you guys can't run away? I feel like Griffith would have more trust in his men to do that, but also I could see him using it as an actual strategy to, once your back is against the wall, you fight harder. Or maybe it'd just be a tactic to confuse the enemy. I don't really know ultimately how it's going to play out. That's what Volume 8 is for, I suppose, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Getting to meet the enemy knight commander. It's very cool because he's very similar to Guts in that he's kind of I'm just here to swing my sword. He leaves everything up to other people. And that's what Guts said under the tree too. He's like, I leave the reason for fighting up to other people. He said that's not my job. He said that's not my forte. And I think it's interesting to see the commander like that because he's kind of like a parallel to Guts, and then obviously with their fight that's going on later in the volume. It's very cool to see kind of a clash of similar ideologies, and Guts kind of coming up against this insurmountable wall, and being like, okay, it's not as hopeless as that one time. I can't really remember the one time. Don't hate me there. I can't really remember that one time, but it's very cool to see, and it's also I can already see the downfall of it coming with the general guy, and all his feelings towards Griffith. And going out onto the field himself to command because he thinks the general is going to kill Griffith. I think that's so interesting because I can already see that being the downfall of this whole thing is the big guy coming out there himself and going directly against the general's orders. I almost respect the general a bit, if for no other reason than how similar he is to Guts, and kind of I don't feel like he's necessarily a bad guy. I mean, he might have said to do something that I can't really remember. He just seems like Guts on the opposite team, and I really like that in a villain, kind of similar to the protagonist. I think it'll be a very cool opponent for Guts to overcome, and I've really enjoyed the fight so far. I enjoyed Casca's little side thing where she went into the fort to kind of try to take it over and had to fight the one guy, and she does well as she does. Casca finally showing up. And then Nuts is going berserk. What can I say? And yeah, I'm really looking forward to Volume 8 and the conclusion of this little arc, and kind of seeing what comes next for Nuts and Griffith and Cascade. Yeah. If you're still watching and you enjoy, be sure to like and subscribe and call your uncle. And I will see you all next time on the next episode of Rat's Nest. Goodbye.